Grown Black Folks Talk. This is the last that I have planned. We'll see if there's another one on Saturday. I've been working on this topic ever since a bombshell came forth about Umar Johnson on the Noir Aunties podcast. A few days later, I happened to notice that something happened with Malika Andrews. Giannis Antetokounmpo walked out on her, and a gentleman made a video about it and used Dr. Umar as to support his viewpoint of Malika Andrews' evil for just doing her job as a professional sports journalist. And that's how I found out how we were going to get to this video. The bombshell happened to do with why it is even more of a sin and a shame that a 25-year failure of a grifting, conning man has the audacity to suggest the public torment and murking, because I'm not going to get my channel knocked down, of Malika Andrews. But see, the reason that it ended up being in this series, and I delayed and delayed till I found a context I wanted to put it in, because first of all, I'm not going to drive a whole lot of extra traffic and spend a lot of time because the man has traits of a narcissist. So I'm not trying to drive a whole lot. This is going to be longer than regular because I got to show you some of the evidence, but I'm going to leave it in the description for you to go find and report. See, because here's the thing about chattel games. As we learned from Megan Thee Stallion, no matter how much you want to care for a man like this, all they leave you with is a dump if you are alive at the end at all. And for evidence, we're going to put up Umar Johnson. How do we know that it's 25 years? The Noir Aunties broadcast from Confidence with Love channel will be in the description, during which fellow guest, Black Woman Minding My Business, shared with us that she donated 25 years ago to Umar Johnson, talking about a school. Her son is now 26. He was an infant then. Now, content creators Lynn Honor and KKC, King Kong Crazy, have done a good job of covering the foolery for the last 13 years, but that number just doubled. Lynn Honor's documentary, which will allow you to see the dump and trace the scam for the last decade and a half, well, almost a decade and a half, will be in the description for those of you that want to go into it in more detail. But what I want you to understand, ladies, is that you can feed a man, sex a man, and cover for a man's foolery as long as you want. If he does not have it in him except to play chattel games with Black women, he's not going to get any better. It's just like, the new Mrs. Noel Jones, Waiting on Bishop Jones, all that time, he played with everybody he wanted to play with, and then finally settled down with her because he's come to an age where he needs somebody to be there to take care of him. It's like John Gray hasn't figured it out yet after having been, but there's Aventer Gray sitting there holding his hand. He ain't gonna get no better. Jamie Foxx sitting around talking about he ain't gonna be ready to be married until he's broken down, has a stroke. And now his daughter has to deal with that. These men don't get better behaving in this way. They get worse. Your whole life will begin to look like what Lennon Honor calls the trap bandos. If you haven't seen those videos and what the situation is, now, Umar Johnson has done a little bit of work on them because he knows the eyes of the people are upon him. The state of Delaware is also going to come get him for those taxes. So at the end, within another few years, here's what's going to happen. And all of you who've sat out there and supported this man are going to have a tax repo to show for it. Allegedly, there's considerable video evidence of this. A lot of your money has gone to drug abuse. A lot of your money has gone, a little bit of your money has gone to child support payments paid in bulk. you know, this individual who has been out here taking from Black women has at least two baby mamas and two daughters he's not acting in their life, and had the audacity to come on camera talking about, I will pay my child support in bulk. This is what people, no matter how much you want here this man to rescue your son and represent Black men and be a Pan-Africanist, you got a Pan-Africanist out here who's suggesting the public torment and murdering of Black women with 50,000 lashes. Y'all go in the description and look at that. The YouTube video in which it's featured is about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. You'll find it. and then report it all. Because these people that put up these threats and then pass on these threats, they need to be reported to Instagram and YouTube. If you really feel froggy after you see it, go ahead and pass it on to the FBI and the ADL too. They get a nice folder of grifters like this. Because here's the deal, y'all. 50,000 lashes? I would expect that a doctor of any subject would have studied enough history to know the human body in most cases can only take about 50 of those before dying of bleeding to death and shock. So, but then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what does this have to do with the chattel games we've been talking about? This has to do with the fact that men of this caliber are looking to come up on black women, and Malika Andrews has a couple things going for her that puts her out of reach. She's beautiful, but she's not sexually available. She's not going to turn around and deal with a man like Umar Johnson after sitting with the likes of Adam Silver. You know, kind of the same thing whereby black men are upset because black women are getting access to money from Goldman Sachs and Grameen and Chase Bank and some governments, but they can't get it. So not only is she not available, she has access. She also can ask the men that these men vicariously live through hard questions doing her job as a professional journalist. I'm a professional journalist. Miss Andrews' case is very straightforward, but if you've been watching this particular miniseries, you know that comes with the territory. But the idea is Umar Johnson spent time in previous years trying to beg these athletes to give him some attention to put some money into his grift. They ignored him. She has access every day. She has access to men to make decisions about how those employees of the NBA gonna get to live. She gets to sit down and talk with Adam Silver about how many games he may choose to give one of these athletes these men worship while having no access. She gets to come up on camera and talk and just beam as she talks about interviewing that humble paragon of basketball greatness, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, who now is an NBA champion, whose records have eclipsed Will Chamberlain. She gets access to men of other races who are doing bigger things in some areas. Now, of course, in the NBA, not all of Wilt Chamberlain's records have been eclipsed, but the idea is she's beautiful. She's not turning around looking for anybody. She'll go toe to toe with anybody, including Stephen A. Smith. She gets to ask hard questions, and although some get to walk out, guess what? You keep walking out on interviews in the NBA, you get fines. She can keep asking whatever questions she wants, and you just gonna have to pay the fines. It costs you money to avoid Malika Andrews. And there are plenty of black men who resent the heck up out of the fact that Malika Andrews has all that. She has access to stand toe to toe with black men, but she ain't got to be bothered with any of them in terms of them being able to come up on her. And because she has this access, and because she's not available, and because she looks beautiful and beams in the presence of men, that these men cannot kiss their feet economically. This is how you get men who are supposed to be Pan Africanists and doctors who have not produced anything for the people in 25 years. Sitting up here talking about their public torment and murdering of this particular woman. See, the thing about it is, black men who play chattel games, they always fail. And they'll fail faster with black women getting up and walking away and making moves like Malika Andrews has made to get to a different place in life. See, no matter what happens to her with her job, she's making contacts she's always going to have. She doesn't need every athlete to like her. Adam Silver enjoyed his interview with her. I'm sure Nikola Jokic did too. And every black athlete she's interviewed haven't hated her. So she's gonna have she's gonna have those details, she's gonna have all those things, and there's a very good chance she may never come down to the point that the average black man who lives vicariously through these athletes will ever have access to her. If she is wise, because we already looked at the case of Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. So why would a woman like that, being threatened by the likes of men like Umar Johnson, turn around and take a chance like that? This is not to say there are not wonderful individual black men. In the NBA, those of you who are old enough to remember Tim Duncan or David Robinson, I have great admiration for David Robinson myself. I understand why he was called the Admiral. An upstanding gentleman. There are plenty of them out there. She has access to be seen and to be chosen. But she's also a professional. So it wouldn't make sense for her to do that right now. But the point is, she can sit down with men. These men cannot even get close, but buy a ticket to be close enough on the court to even get their sweat dropped on them. She gets to work every day and be among the men that they admire and can stand toe to toe with them and can have them out here getting fines if they don't play along with what she was sent there to do. And they can't. Because grifting on women is not going to let you move up in the world where there are stronger chattel makers than you. When Mr. Adam Silver makes his decision, John Morant will sit down for as long as Adam Silver says he is to sit down. And she can sit down on a cordial basis and have a nice conversation and be out of the way of all of that. And that's why grifting 25-year failures cannot be loved, sexed, fed, or given money to the point that they will get to the point that they will not fail and then try to remove some black woman from this earth because of their failures. Which is why you got to stop playing deadly chattel games. I feel for the women, the mother of Umar's children, and I feel for his daughters who have to carry this terrible legacy that their father has left them. Father's Day is Sunday. But see, this is why we have to be careful. This is why, as we said about the Travis Rudolph and Dominique Jones case, you cannot allow yourself to just casually be involved with people who have nothing going for them at all. You're setting yourself up. And for those of you who are still following Umar Johnson 25 years on, I suppose that if you put in a quarter century in that level of foolery, that you probably will continue. I'm not here to convince you to do otherwise. If you do not know by now, if you have heard the Oracle, Linen Honor, E&J, KKC, Nappy Yankee, Make a Change, if you have been in the internets and on the internets and you haven't heard enough to convince you by now, I'm not here to convince you, but I'll tell you what. Don't bring any of your foolery over here. Linen Honor has put out a video sometime in the past about the 10 top excuses Umar Johnson supporters make. 25 years on, if you still believe them, fine. Coming over here with the foolery will get you instantly blocked. I'm not even going to waste my time. I am not in the mood. If you don't know what have you built? If you don't know, Google it and go mind your business. Don't start any stuff over here because you up here, all you got to show for 25 years supporting this man is a broken down building. If you do not understand, watch Lennon Honor's documentary and come up out of the pool. Don't bring it over here. It will not be received at all. I have presented this miniseries because like I said before, and I forgot to give the disclaimer on this video, I'm not trying to be nice. I am sick and tired of watching my people do things that are going to get you here. Now, I probably got some other videos that are more lighthearted and pleasant as I'm out walking around in nature. But no. For this, you have to understand, this is not what you were choosing when you were playing chattel games. When you were either trying to be, where you think you're no better than to be a slave, or you're trying to make sure that you get to manipulate and take everything out of somebody else. When there are bigger chattel makers waiting on you. You have to come to the conclusion. I am not a chattel, nor will I seek to treat anyone else as a chattel. I will attend to learning what it is to be free-minded. This is the only thing that breaks you out of the pattern. I hope with this series I have illustrated to you what happens from beginning to end, the deadly games, the wasted decades. Umar Johnson has taken at least, Linen Honor already estimated at 2 million. But if you got to multiply that by 2, because now we don't have 13 years, we have 25. Millions of dollars, millions of hopes and dreams. It's got so bad that boys who thought that they might go came out at 14 talking about how much they wish that they could have gone and calling him to account. Young men are calling this man to account. And by the way, you'll see this in the documentary. This is the same grifter who also is a Hitlerian, because he had the temerity to suggest that in order to reclaim the community, we're just going to have to murk 10% of black boys. Put Malika Andrews on top of a stack of a, excuse me, y'all, of a number. It's enough to choke one up. How many black boys are there? That's a number the size of the Holocaust. Or that's a number the size of the Holocaust divided by 10. So all these boys, many of whose fathers are not in the picture anyway, are going to be hunted down the street by a deadbeat dad like that. And this is what people, some of you have been supporting for 25 years. That's what we're gonna get for that. We're gonna increase the number of black boys who don't make it to adulthood. And some of you have been supporting that for 25 years. Put $2-3 million in it. Probably ain't gonna listen to me now. That's what you want. You may you have the outcome you deserve. Unless, of course, you come to Jesus Christ and repent of those sins, because that's just about the only way. Because when you invest like this, when you practice living like this, you're opening yourself to be you and your children to be exposed to people who will do worse to you than even Umar Johnson. You're practicing being made chattel in a society that still sees you that way. That's why I opened a series with the chattel games about diversity. All the integration and civil rights and everything that went with this has not changed the fact that we have the least capital, and there are a lot of people who feel their position will be threatened if we change position. And when people see us out here playing chattel games and people behind Umar Johnson losing it for what? A broken down building? If you'll take that little, you'll take anything. You're being set up. You're being sold for very little. The property Umar Johnson has may have been worth $400,000. $400,000. It has been in decline ever since. It is still on the abandoned property list. So you put $2 to $4 million into that to get something that's $400,000 and declining in value every single minute of every single day, since he does not have the money to keep it up. But you put in $2 to $4 million and you have $400,000 of a broken down abandoned building that's about to be seized on taxes. 25 years of investment. If we'll take that, the other people in this country knows we'll swallow anything. But the solution for a man like this is to try to get Malika Andrews whipped to death. Is this what we're doing in 2023? And I say we very loosely because I'm certainly not. And I would advise you not to be bothered either. This is the end point of chattel games. If you do chattel, expect to bear the brunt of it when it doesn't fall apart, and expect to be made the target. If you're a chattel maker, you have a whole bunch of broken, empty, falling in things to look forward to. Just like, they don't talk about this part of the end of the Civil War, how almost every Southern city and almost every the reason that Southern plantations are a tourist attraction now is because of how few of them there are left. It may have taken a little bit more time for some. Sergeant Love told me about the people that had the temerity to tell his older parents, y'all can't work anymore, bye. And put them off their property in their old age. No Social Security, no nothing. So God went on and allowed Sergeant Love to do 2 more tours of Vietnam, put his family on some land, and that land went up in value. His family's taken care of now. The family that did that, he drives by there and their houses are falling in. That's what happens to you at the end. Most Southern slave owners, even though they were compensated for their loss, couldn't hold their economy together. The South collapsed. One might think of the KKK and all of the virulent racism afterwards as sort of Southern slave owners taking revenge on the only people they could, since clearly the North and the Union weren't going to have it. I think General Grant proved the point. But that's what chattel makers do. When they fail, they blame the very ones that let them get up from where they fell from. And this is why, after 25 years, Umar Johnson is out here talking about killing a black woman live on his Instagram. Because there's no gratitude. Black women helped him get up. But the fact that this beautiful woman gets access to people he can't get access to, that everybody out there can move on and can do things that he will never be able to do, is too much for him. And that's what happens when a chattel person who's considered chattel moves on. This is why the most danger a woman is ever in is when she's getting ready to leave her abuser. Same behavior. Because when people who play chattel games from that position start to lose chattel games, they don't want to be shown up by having you go on with your life and proving that you're not chattel, which is why you got to leave the foolery alone. Stop supporting grifters. I don't care whether they're online. I don't care whether they're in your church. I don't care if they're in your family. Stop it. You are setting yourself up for this. And if you're on the other side, it's just going to take a little longer. Allegedly, Umar Johnson has an addiction problem, meaning that it may not be, of course, now what constrains him in being able to buy what he needs. I mean, he's been seen taking pills and things on camera. The only thing that constrains him and probably saves his life, he doesn't have money all the time, but sooner or later, all that stuff catches up with you. There's some other things going on with his health, allegedly, as well. The man is not yet 50. It catches up with you. Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy, can tell you it catches up with you. It should have caught up with the members of the Confederacy harder than it did, but when you lose everything you have, when you're a black man, you don't have as much of a safety net as a white Confederate. I don't want to see this happen to Umar Johnson any more than I want to see this happen to any of you. However, people are going to have the life they deserve unless they repent and turn from their sins and their wicked ways. There's no exception to the rule. There would be no exception to the rule if I decided to start manipulating y'all, especially since I know better. This is why you can't play chattel games. Nobody escapes. Okay. This is the harshest content I think I have ever done in a series. It does not please me to do this, but it's just like at some point we gotta wake up. Now, I will occasionally be breaking down hot topics based on, okay, this is slave owner behavior we're doing. We got to quit this. Because maybe we're so used to it in the black community, maybe we don't see it unless it's pointed out. I don't enjoy this kind of content. I'm the kind of person that finds it hard to finish pieces of music and stories that I'm writing if there's no redemptive purpose. It's not easy for me to talk about these situations, particularly since right now they're just sitting here in a total mess and they're not going to get any better. It's not the easiest content for me to present. However, I take my duty as a content creator seriously. I'm not throwing these names into the title just to be doing it. I need us to wake up. You have people sitting around last week trying to figure out, are we going to be able to hold up paying the country's bills for political? We're about to make the future of 100 million people chattel to our religious. That too, the death of Pat Robinson would have been another subject, but I already referenced him. For our political religious foolery, we're going to make 100 million people needy families veterans, senior citizens. We're going to make them chattel to our political foolery because we want our way and we can't get it. And whose fault is it? The poor. We're going to make them pay for it. That was the plan. It just didn't quite work out because, Mr. Joseph Robinette Biden is a skilled political operator. Skilled enough. And even a compromise still threw people under the bus that didn't need to be there. These people who are over us are willing to sell us body and soul to get their way. The big time chattel makers are doing what they do. And we over here putting money in broken down buildings for people that have not produced anything but another grift for 25 years. I'm going to need us to stop doing that. Thank you for listening. Y'all have a good day now. Goodbye.